Hi guys, this is Alaina from Honest Grub, Honest Foodie, and I wanted to do this short video to add on to my YouTube channel just to kind of explain Honest Grub, Honest Foodie and how we got here and why you should follow and what you'll find here. It is really cool to me that I had started this a little over a year ago and I wasn't sure what it was going to become, because it was kind of a time for me where I was really struggling with who I was, what I was doing. I had this new purpose of being a mom, and it had sprung on me not as planned, not as expected. And, through a lot of life changes my way and different paths as to what I could do to be the most successful, and different choices I could make that would determine my future and Ainsley's future. And so during the time I was pregnant with Ainsley, I was going through a lot of things in my mind. And it was hard because her dad was not and is not part of the picture. And it was hard for me to kind of deal with it because I felt like, I was alone, and I wasn't. But, when you feel that way, I can't knock my feelings. My feelings were valid. And, but, I have a very, very amazing family who's very supportive. And so I wasn't alone in that respect, but the idea that, my friends didn't know what I was going through, and they tried it, and that's not anything against them. They just don't have kids. And it was, people in my life that chose that they weren't going to be in my life anymore. And that also hurt too. There was people in my life that were in my life through, like, say, my college chapter, and that decided that they were going to be friends with other people besides me because of my pregnancy. Would mean that, I was kind of out of that group now. And that was really hard to deal with because, again, I didn't feel like I had done anything wrong, and I didn't do anything wrong. It wasn't at that point where, I hadn't done anything wrong. And I think that at that point I felt like, well, did I do something wrong? These people don't want to be my friends anymore. And, I know that it was just on them, and I had to come to that conclusion and accept that. But when you're pregnant, working full time, I had just started my dream job of a teacher, and that was then, like, I found out 3 weeks into starting my dream job, graduating college, getting an amazing degree, and finding out that this was happening. And I, found out the first month of my job, and that was, I think, also. So mentally, I was just in all different places. And I am one of those people who tackle things on their own, and I'm, like, so independent. And, I was that, like, straight A, like, student who worked hard but had to work hard for it. Like, it didn't come easy. And, I tried my hardest to be involved in all sorts of things, and because I loved it. But I was working since I was 15, and, I was used to balancing all these things. But at the same time, now it was really, really different. So during that time, I needed a way to responsibly, get out that emotion, those feelings, kind of some depression in a way. And I had to have an outlet. And so that is kind of where Honest Grub, Honest Foodie came to be, because I decided to take to my kitchen. And it was like shadowy, like it's the sun's finally peeking out because it's been horrible weather in St. Louis. Sorry, I'm distracted. I took to my kitchen and I started making recipes, because I always loved to cook and I was always health obsessed in a way that I didn't. And now I look back, that was not, the right path for me at the time, because, well, not right path, but I took it too seriously, I think. I deprived my body of a lot of things, like when we would go out to eat or things like that, and I wouldn't get like French fries or things like that, even though I worked out almost every day. And it became a part where I felt like I just couldn't have those things. It wouldn't be healthy. And I, wanted to look my best, but for who? Like it became to the point where, am I doing this for myself, or was I doing it for like my boyfriend at the time, because I wanted, him to still think that I looked great? And it was one of those things where it shouldn't matter. It should matter how I feel, and I feel about myself. And now looking back, I think that even though my body and like my, I was maybe a couple pant size less at that point, was I really truly happy, or was I making myself miserable constantly thinking about what I was eating to the point of not enjoying food? There was things that I decided to take out, like, oh, well, it's low fat, so I'm going to eat it. And I didn't really realize how, an avocado, it has it's really high in fat, but it has the good fats to it. And I don't think I realized that. I saw fat and I was like, oh, I'm not having it, right? So when I was pregnant with Ainsley, I did so much research on what was going into my body, because now I had this other life inside of me that was counting on me. And that was it's such a surreal feeling, and it's amazing though. And so I really did a lot of research as to what I was putting in my body, because now it wasn't like I couldn't take the fat out of my diet because my baby needed that. And so I did so much research on baking and cooking, and I took to it, and it became even more of a hobby for me. And so I created a bunch of recipes during my pregnancy with Ainsley that were so special to me, because it was my way of clearing my head. And obviously, from what I've said before, there was a lot that was consuming my head, and I had to find a way to have an outlet somewhere. And so it was that, and it was also running. So running was my favorite. It still is. I love running. I love how I'm able to clear my head, and it kind of just feels like you're kind of running away. Not running away, but it just feels like you're just going and going. And I don't know. It's just something, those of you that are runners, I think, know what I'm talking about. So it was between those two things. And then, of course, as I got to about 7 months pregnancy, I didn't really work out as much anymore. And, running was definitely a lot more difficult when you're huge, with this like huge baby. So, that was really how it got started. And then one of my friends said to me, she's like, I love your recipes that you're posting. We love eating your food. And she's like, why don't you start a blog? I'm like, nobody cares. I was like, nobody would care. And I think at the same time, when I was saying nobody would care, I think I was also thinking there's no way I could share these, because they're so special to me. And cooking was like my safe haven, and away from the negativity of other people, and the loss of relationships, and the loss of Ainsley's dad being involved, and, feeling unwanted, and feeling, I've had all of these feelings. And this kitchen was like my sanctuary to make it all better. And I thought, there's no way I can share it, and then people reject it. I was like, that would be heartbreaking to me, because it was my place of getting everything better in my mind, and just a place to let it all out. And so I was really scared, and I'm like, well, I'm just going to do it. And I am so thankful that I did, because it is one of the best things that I have done. And it is such an outlet for me too, again, with my recipes. And I think I just love sharing them with everybody. And I love all the people that I've met. I've made some amazing relationships and partnered with some great companies. And seeing you all love the recipes and sharing them with your family, I think is just made everything worthwhile. And it's a lot of fun to me because I just love to create. And my dad is an artist and my sister is an artist. And, I'm the teacher and I'm super creative in like the Pinteresty crafty way. But I think now I've found such a creative outlet too within cooking that with photography, because I used to be part of my school's newspaper in high school. And so I'm like back in that element, which I loved. And so there's so many things to it, and that Ainsley gets to do it with me and she enjoys it so much. And I think what too is that I do have this passion for nutrition and this passion for food. And at the same time though, my whole website is like, has gluten-free stuff, dairy-free stuff, full of dairy. Like here is just all of balance, reality of, a single working mom who has a passion for cooking, loves to share it with you all, and wants to help you feel good about your body and about your mindset, and know that, you can be in a pretty rough place. And I understand feeling like you are the only one. And I've had, unfortunately, a good amount of friends growing up and parents of my friends who have passed away too soon, too early. I mean, it's always too soon and too early. And I think it's made me realize how life is so short. And I think that had a lot to do with too of why I was just like, okay, I'm going to do it, because I'm not guaranteed tomorrow. I'm not guaranteed the next hour. I'm not guaranteed anything. And why not? And I think that that's a huge thing too with my cooking is, yes, there's going to be stuff that it's really good for you. And my whole motto is real food, real ingredients. So, no additives and added sugars and things like that your body just doesn't need, and is as clean as possible. But there's sometimes where I add things in there where, like the red hot riplet seasoning that I love, and I know that that's maybe not necessarily real food, real ingredients, but sometimes I add that in there, and that's just what you're gonna find here. It's just all about balance. And I feel like my recipes are really easy to sub things in and omit some things, and people have told me that too with my recipes. It's easy to sub things or adjust to their dietary restriction. So that's me in a nutshell. I am 27-year-old mom to an amazing daughter. I have 2 technically dream jobs I consider now. Like, I love running Honest Grub, Honest Foodie, and it is a lot of work, but I love it. And teaching has always been a passion of mine. And so I'm thankful that I have such an amazing team that I teach with and get to do that every day. And I mean, my number one job though is being Ainsley's mom, and it is the best gift. And there was a time where people were telling me to get an abortion. There were people who were telling me to keep her. There were telling me, and there's so many people telling me what I should do. And I felt kind of honestly pissed me off when people would tell me that, and telling me that, if you do this, then we can still be friends, or, we could date if you got an abortion, or, things like that honestly really messed with my head, because I started for a second thinking that it was somebody else's choice, and it's not. Your body, your actions, nobody else has control over. And it's not their choice. It's just solely your choice. And so, I made the choice that Ainsley was going to be the best part of me. And it is amazing because I strive every single day to be the best person I can be because of her. And because I want her to have that role model. And I try, and do I fall flat on my face half the time? Yes. But it's the idea that I made the choice, and I got to make the choice. And every woman should be able to have her voice heard, and her choice your body is your temple, and you have the choice of what to do with it, right? So that's just my belief on it as well. And that it was hard. But again, I mean, obviously knowing Ainsley and how amazing she is and how she's going to change the world someday, and thinking about the people who told me that I should not have even had her, and that I can't even imagine, right? Can't even imagine. So that too is that, I'm living my truth. I think I wore this ring actually on my ring finger when I was pregnant because I was worried about what other people would think. And especially because I was waitressing still at the time too, before I had her. And I was like worried that people at the table would think that, I was unmarried and I'm pregnant, and what are they going to think of me? Because, I was always that kid in high school that was involved in everything. And, I was friends with all the teachers, and, I was on good terms. I babysat their kids, like all these things that, it's so shameful, right? And I think that it was my person of who I work for, my amazing principal. And, she had said to me, she was like, that could have been anybody. That could have been anybody. That could have been anybody here. That could have been anybody. And it's you right now, and you're rocking it, and you're making the choice for you. She was kind of the first person through my pregnancy that looked at me like, not as, oh no, what are you gonna do? But she's like, you own it, right? You own what's going to happen, and it could have been anybody. And that was like that pivotal moment for me where I'm like, yeah, you're right. And I took the rings off my ring finger. I put it on, my other hand. I'm like, why do we care so much about what other people think? Why? I have no idea. And it's something we battle with every single day. But ever since having Ainsley, I think I realized the importance of living my truth. And that is what it is. And if you are shameful of it, then others are going to find it shameful. But if I'm walking around being like, hey, this is me, this is what's going on, and if I don't find shame in it, how is somebody else going to find shame in it? They can, because a lot of people do. But, if I don't put the shame on it, then I'm not going to feel shame about it. And I think that was difficult for me, but now I'm starting to really feel comfortable with that. And I tell my kids that all the time in class, because I think a lot of the kids come from so many different backgrounds, but it's not the typical, and I'm not from a typical situation. And so I think sometimes when we have share in the morning, the kids are like, oh, I did this, and this over the weekend, which isn't that truthful. Like, they didn't actually do it, but they feel like they need to say something like, I got the newest game, or I got this or this to fit in. And so we've had a big talk in my class about living our truth and being so proud of who we are and not feeling that shame about things. So, I mean, right now, Ainsley and I live with my parents, and that is something that I felt was really shameful, and that I am having a baby out of wedlock, and I'm living with my parents after, I'm 27 years old. I have a full-time job. But I'm living with my parents with my daughter as a single parent. And I felt so much shame out of that. And so I didn't want to tell people that. And I still sometimes don't say that. And I think I'm starting to realize, who cares? And I'm lucky that I have an amazing family that supports me. And I'm doing what I can to give us the best life that I can. There's no child support coming in for her. And so as a single parent with one income, yes, I could move us out and be literally scraping, but my parents are awesome, and I never had a good relationship with my grandparents. My mom's grandparents died when I was too little to remember them. And my dad's parents were not that great. And so I did not have the best taste in my mouth about grandparents. It was just that bitter feeling because of how I saw my dad's parents treat him. And so I didn't have that special bond with grandparents. And so Ainsley thinks the absolute world of her grandparents, and they think the absolute world of her. And so I think it is such a special time that when I know 5 years from now, we're going to look back and, we'll be in a house of our own. There might be another part to our family, and she'll just have that special bond with her grandparents that, any other kids in the future that I have, won't ever really have that exact bond. And it's just really special. And I know that she's going to find that so special even more when she gets older and understands it. So I do. I live at home with my parents right now. And I do all the cooking and have them be my test tasters. And so, I don't have the fancy kitchen that, I feel like everybody follows people on Instagram and they're marble countertops and everything's beautiful and they have the latest KitchenAid stuff and the best lighting and the best video and all of this stuff that, I'm a working mom full-time, have a toddler running around. I live in the house with my parents right now, raising my kid, and life is a lot of unconventional stuff of what you follow or what you see. And I think though that I wish I saw more of that. Sometimes you look at these things and you're like, oh, that's not reality, right? That's not reality that's happening. And, I will say when I shoot my photos, it takes a while, and it takes a while to then edit and everything too. And so, it's not necessarily reality half the time. And, the food is and the taste is. But so I try and deliver the best quality because that also is important because it's nicer to look at and it's pretty and it, there's that creative side to it and I adore it. But my YouTube videos, my things like that aren't going to be pristine and, the best lighting and the fancy kitchen upgrade that, you see every new influencer that you follow has, or they're getting their house redone. And, I see that's not reality for majority of us. And that's what you're going to get here too, is cold, hard reality, honesty, trying my best every day to live my truth and be proud of who I am and make you be proud of yourself, and you live your truth and go out there. And I challenge you today that if you feel shame about something, that you turn that around and you start fully putting all the most positive and love into that to make it feel unshameful, and own it and rock it to where then all of a sudden it just becomes something proud. It does. And it took me 2 years, but it's a little process, but it's all about your mindset. And I know that all the positive that I'm putting out there is what's bringing in partnerships with Honest Scrub. It's what's bringing in money in all these different avenues that I wasn't expecting, because I didn't say I'm going to be stuck here forever in my parents' house. Ainsley and I are going to be moving out by this date and saving up, and everything has kind of just come towards me because I had this mind shift. So I really do. I challenge you to think of that positive and just putting it out there, because there's no shame or no harm in putting it out there, because there's no harm in me posting a soup, and, there's no harm of me posting my favorite new muffin recipe. And because if I love it, my friends love it, my family loves it, and I see you guys making it, it's vulnerable, right? But you have nothing to lose. And so that is just, I kind of wanted to pop on and share that, and probably not many of you made it through to the end, and I don't take that personal either. But I just felt like I've never fully shared who I am, what's going on, because there's not, Instagram, you can't really video for that long. And, but I think it's important to know who you're following and who you're trying the recipes, or who you are looking at every single day to recipes or advice or things like that. And I think these avenues are really great way to meet people and work with others and partner. And so that is just me in a nutshell. And I want to be as apparent and transparent, and know that what you see is what you get. And I will do my best to bring to you my most honest and version of me and amazing, yummy recipes. And I just thank you so much for following along. Thank you so much for supporting. And thank you for making this dream I had, this crazy dream when I was pregnant with Ainsley, of wanting something more with my cooking. And there's so many dreams I have now based off of Honest Scrub that I just am putting out there for the next 3 years. You just never know what's going to happen. And so I really do. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for following along. Thank you for being here. And just thank you.